Alrighty, so today we're plugging in another movie into the one-shot review system. The movie that I saw today was Gran Turismo, based on a true story. I just say that because that's included in where the title reads out for everything. I don't know why they decided to do it that way, but anyway, just to get this started, I think this one will be pretty quick. I thought the movie was pretty good, but I don't have much to say about it because it's pretty straightforward. So today, same as every time I've been going, I walk into the theater, I already have my ticket ready to go. One of the things that's interesting is that I don't know if it's just because you plan the reservation like multiple days out, or if it's because, I don't know, maybe there's like less people going to see the movie than they think, but for anything that I've planned a couple of days before, it always asks me, like, are you still going to be there? And maybe this is just to remind me that I have a reservation, but it's also just interesting because it's like, well, I said I was going to be there, but regardless. Anyway, walk into the movie, scan the ticket pass. This particular movie theater is the one I always go to compared to the one that I went to for Strays, which is basically the alternative theater to go to. I, once again, like this one better. Everything was pretty straightforward. There was less people there, so there was nothing to wait for or anything like that. I ended up getting the popcorn and icy again. I think this will be the last time that I get that because, man, it was just doing a number on, like, every time I leave the theater after eating a regular popcorn, even if I use like no butter, salt, or whatever, just like all of a sudden get this feeling of like my stomach is not happy with the decisions I've been making. And I don't think it's the icy, because I used to drink ices like every single day when I was a kid. Whether or not that was good or bad for me, like, not the point of the discussion right now, but I'm pretty sure the popcorn is just all around not great for your digestive system, and I just need to take a hard stance against it unless I'm seeing some crazy movie that I'm really interested in, and I just want the full experience. So, that's the deal. We get into the movie theater, we sit down. I'm genuinely surprised by how often I pick a seat that I try to be away from people and still pick a decent seat. And by the time that, the movie comes around and people are buying tickets that day and stuff like that, all of a sudden people are sitting right next to me, or not right next to me, but basically right in front of me in a big group, or behind, or one over to the side, when there's absolutely no one left in the theater. I just think that maybe I'm the type of person that likes my personal space so much that when I see that little screen pop up and you see the available seats, I'm like, dude, let me get the F away from literally anybody else, especially when I'm going to go see the movie alone. But the people in front of me this time were awesome. They were just quiet the whole movie. There was no reason to be, upset that they were there. So, but that's just something that I've noticed. I don't know if it's because there's a seat by there, people are like, oh, let me pick that, or if because I'm just picking the spots that everybody wants to sit by. But either way, I feel like if you really want to make sure that you're seeing a movie not surrounded by anybody, you basically have to reserve your seat right before. But all that makes sense. So anyway, this movie, Gran Turismo. Well, first of all, let's talk about the trailers. So the trailers were all right. Same trailers I've been seeing, nothing too crazy. I did see a trailer for the movie Dumb Money today, though, and I'm just absolutely surprised at how quickly the turnaround is on some of this stuff. Like, that is a movie about the GameStop short squeeze, and specifically focusing on that one dude that made the original bet and was live streaming on Twitch and all that, and then eventually had to go in front of either Congress or the Senate. I'm not, I have no idea. I didn't follow it that closely, but it's just like, dude, that happened not but maybe 2 years ago, if not just a little bit longer than that. I just remember I can think about where I was living when all that stuff happened, and you know, that was not that long ago. Um, anyway, I'm just surprised that not only did, because dude, how long does it take to make a movie? Like they must have, the second that that stuff happened, had somebody start writing a screenplay and then sold it. We're getting people involved because the actors in there too is kind of surprising. And anyway, I mean, Paul Dano's playing the main character. He looks kind of fitting for it. But that should be an interesting movie. I'm just surprised that it happened so quick. And it's really funny to think about Hollywood executives signing on to a movie about something like that, because while it is a story that the average person would like a lot, I doubt that these high ranking Hollywood executives think that they're on the side of the everyman in the everyman versus the hedge fund battle. But anyway, the other trailer that I saw that was interesting was, obviously I saw the Lotus Flower Scorsese trailer again. If that's what it, I know that's only part of the name of the film, but I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. One thing that always surprises me when I see the trailer for this film is that just the amount at which they can manipulate makeup and stuff like that to make Robert De Niro look like a completely different person in every movie. And then also, is Brendan Fraser only going to be able to get roles where he's in a fat suit or something like that? Like, you know, The Whale was awesome. And I'm just, it's funny to me that this is the next movie that he's going to be starring in. That's a big role, and he's also playing somebody that's very heavy set. But you know, those are the trailers. So those are the two things I'm interested in. I obviously still could not care less about the Nun movie that's in the Conjuring universe, but yeah. I mean, the trailers were very well placed for what I would say would be maybe the gamer audience or something like that. But anyway, getting into the film itself, this film, Gran Turismo, is about a kid who, well, I say kid, but he's clearly old enough to have been in college when all this is happening. But he essentially is one of the best players at playing Gran Turismo, which, if you don't know, Gran Turismo is a PlayStation game that prides itself on being a racing simulator, and trying to be as close to real life as possible. This is different from maybe games like Ridge Racer, or obviously Mario Kart, or even something like Burnout or Horizon, because all of these games are aiming to create an arcade driving experience where you can drive fast and drift fun and, you know, all that kind of stuff. That's partially the reason why I like Ridge Racer so much, is that it's a very drifty game. But regardless, Gran Turismo is known for being something that's very close to real life. And this follows the story of the very real life person that competed in the Gran Turismo Academy and eventually became a professional driver. And it's kind of funny because in the movie, everything has changed to be sort of like current day PS5 sort of marketing, which I think was pretty genius. But everything that took place in this movie took place in the PS3 era. Not that that really matters, but this is a little tidbit. Basically, this guy is from a family of people that, you know, whatever, they're just a normal family, anything like that. Nobody's in driving. I think the only connection that they call out is that his dad used to play soccer somewhat professionally. And so, you know, there's this whole conflict in the movie between the dad and the son about, you know, this racing game is a waste of his time and stuff like that. It's kind of funny because this movie is like that personification of the gamer esport trope of like, oh, you know, you said your kid was wasting time playing CSGO and now he's playing for Cloud9 or Team Liquid or something like that, right? But what's interesting is that where in esports, it's basically a freaking trash can full of burning money, and nobody, that's not, you know, it basically just props itself up depending on how much sponsorship dollars it can get. this real life racing career is something different, where the framework to make a lot of money in that business is already laid out very firmly, and as long as you can make it, you've made it. It's a real sport. So in that way it's a little bit different, but it's kind of funny that this movie comes at this time now, where we're sort of in the in-between stages of, is esports something that we should really care about, just because at the current state there's no way to make money in it. But that's another discussion for another day. But anyway, they follow him through this film where he essentially, had placed number one in a certain category or ranking on Gran Turismo. They invite him to do this trial run to where he can become part of the academy. Then he's a part of the academy, and then he starts doing real races, and there's all this conflict involved with, he's not a real racer, he's a sim racer, and it's dangerous because he's not a real athlete like the other drivers. And they have this whole thing where I don't know if this racing group is real in real life, because the other guy who they said was annoying was from an Audi team, but then the real kind of, villain of the movie was somebody from, I think they said it was called like Kappa or something like that, but not Kappa, but Capa. Anyway, because basically telling the events of the movie spoils the entire movie and the point of go seeing it, I'm going to not go any more in depth about the movie, because I did think the movie was really good. And I think that when we think about like PlayStation Studio titles and how can PlayStation actually make movies that are based on video games that don't suck, and break that trend, I think this movie was a very safe bet. And it's amazing that they have something like this to be able to use, like the real life person who played Gran Turismo until they became a real driver. Like, this is some storybook stuff that happened in real life. And they're the brand that gets to champion it. I think that's pretty cool. And I think that, we can make fun of how other PlayStation movies have turned out, like the Uncharted movie and stuff like that. But this movie shows that, if the movie itself could survive on its own, then it being a PlayStation movie doesn't make it inherently bad, because this movie was actually pretty good. And it has a lot of the essence of any other film that's sort of written in this genre of a nonfiction event of an inspiring story. And it's pretty cool at the end. They show photos that basically mirror photos of the actors and stuff that you saw in the film, and the guy who's the actual driver that's still competing today was the stunt double for the kid. I don't know to what degree he's competing. I'm not like a fan or anything like that, but maybe I am after this movie. But yeah, so I would say the movie, what it does really well is it is that type of movie, and it does that very well, where it explores the backstory of the individual, why, there'd be so much conflict in his life driven from this sort of path that he's chosen. And then he, via his own merit, is able to climb up to basically immortality in racing in the Le Mans. So the story itself is very cool, and the way that they presented it was very grounded and not weird, and none of the dialogue or the writing was bad, other than there were some parts where it was kind of cheesy. But the people that they had in the film really sold it. They casted the right kind of actors. They didn't go, low budget and get somebody that couldn't deliver the lines in a way that was meaningful. So it all ended up working out really well, despite the fact that it is a PlayStation movie. So maybe we should take a step back and not immediately think that a PlayStation movie is going to be a bad idea. And I think that if that was the goal in making a movie like this, on top of the obvious draw of making, money from this and promoting Gran Turismo and showing this awesome story, I think that they accomplished that. And it's kind of exciting thinking about how they want to keep doing projects in the future. Like, I know that there was talk about maybe some sort of God of War related thing. And I know that it will most definitely not be in the era of God of War that I want it to be. Because if they made one around this time period, that would be pretty cool, but I doubt it. But anyway, The movie was really good. If I plug it into my where should you see it system, I think this movie will do gangbusters at the sort of, oh, I caught it on TV on USA or FX, and I'm pretty sure those companies are going to eat this movie up if streaming doesn't. So you will probably be able to watch it on TV just because it's such that kind of movie. Like, I haven't had cable in forever, but I'd have to imagine Ford versus Ferrari is all over cable because it's just one of those movies that is such a layup for that type of audience, including myself. But I would say that if you have any interest in PlayStation or Gran Turismo or watching a movie about racing, you should go see this movie. If you like movies about inspiring stories, you should go see this movie in theaters. Like, that type of genre, if you get what I'm saying, because this is a good version of that. If I could say it 10 more times, I guess I will. But so I would say definitely see it in theaters if you see this video by the time to be able to do that. If not, watch it at home, but don't miss it. And then, if I'm plugging it into the between 0 to 5, I think it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, I didn't really have anything negative to say about the movie. I just don't think, obviously, it's deserving of some like S+ tier category. So I will probably give this a light 4, but it's a very solid movie, and I think that everybody should go see it if you're able to see this video in time to go see it, because they just deliver really well on what you think it would be. One thing that is kind of interesting that bothered me every time I saw the trailers for this movie was that I was like, no way they're gonna film this in 16:9, just because then they can flip between Gran Turismo footage and it'll be 16:9. But they literally, I'm pretty sure the movie was in 16:9, and I thought that was gonna suck, and it didn't. It was actually pretty nice because I think that's like the maximum size that you could fill up on the theater screen, at least where I was at. So it actually didn't detract from the movie at all. So yeah, I would just say go see the movie. If you're thinking about what would I rate it, I'm rating it a 4 out of 5. I don't know what the critics are saying. I haven't looked at a single thing. So it's just a light 4. I think it did an amazing job of trying to accomplish what it wanted to, but it's nothing special, just one of those inspiring underdog stories that you love to watch. So that's the review. That's Gran Turismo.